Welcome back to 33-year-old boomer ranting in the Romanian woods. People are starting to sound like AI. Let's talk about it. So, if you are an AI enjoyer, you may have noticed certain patterns in the way in which LLMs communicate. They have a certain rhythm with which they quote-unquote speak or write. You might see elements like, it's not just X, it's also Y. Or exaggerated use of the M dash, which this annoys me so much because I love the M dash. It's such a fantastic tool for writing. And right now it's being destroyed because at this moment in time, it is exclusively associated with AI. And man, it's pretty brutal. I mean, obviously the reason why it's associated with AI is because it's present in so many good books. Especially if you read books that are more than like 50 years old, you're going to see a lot of M dashes in there. And the reason why is because it's very useful. It denotes a pause. Something, M dash, pause, and then the thing. And unfortunately, these things have not only been co-opted by LLMs, but I've noticed this with some people, the way in which they write is weirdly reminiscent of AI. And this makes sense. Let's think about it for a second. Initially, when I first encountered people who communicate, who type, who write, who speak like LLMs, initially I assumed that, they must just be using AI for their stuff. And there's some amount of that. But hear me out. What if they're not? What if they've used them so much that the way in which ChatGPT speaks is just being adopted by humans? I mean, ChatGPT is mid, all of them are. It is simply an approximation of how humans speak based on all the books and all the articles ever written. It's slop. And the problem with these tools is that the more you use them, ignore the dogs in the background, the more you use them, the more you lose your critical thinking skills, which is a huge problem. Because if you start communicating like the LLM and you lose your critical thinking skills, you will be entirely dependent on the AI. Not only will you sound like the AI, but you won't be able to think in any other way. And the ways in which it will influence you are relatively subtle. The people who sound like LLMs, I don't think they were intending for that to happen. I don't think they wanted to sound like LLMs necessarily. It just happened for exposure. And so by constantly outsourcing your thinking to this machine, if you give your thinking over to the machines, this will lead to an inevitable endless cycle. And the lines between human-created art or thinking and machine thinking will become blurred. This will influence your mind in subtle ways that we don't necessarily truly understand. And I can't see anything good coming out of that. For example, I've recently finished writing a sci-fi book. Yes, I am promoting my book. It's not out yet. However, if you check the description in about 1 or 2 weeks after this video comes out, it should be out. And writing it was a lot of work. And not only was it a lot of work, but it was incredibly gratifying to complete a 60,000 word book after writing and rewriting and reviewing. It was a very satisfying thing to do. And not only has this made me better at writing and thinking, But it has given me a sense of joy, a sense of pride that no LLM written garbage could ever achieve. If OpenAI, if whatever, if they write your book, you might write it faster. However, it will be literal slop, and it will rob you of the true value, the true benefit of writing it, which was the process of writing it. They say that a good book, if you've written a good book, by the end of it you will hate it. And I can relate to that, because I've been exposed to it so much. At some point, you just reach a point where it's like, I'm happy with all of it. I think it's done. I don't want to look at it again for a while. And that will never happen with AI, because you will be tempted to cheat that process as well. If you've cheated the writing process, one of the most rewarding parts, then you will cheat yourself out of all the other parts, out of the parts where you review it over and over, where you examine if this chapter makes sense, did I forget anything? Wait, is this character supposed to know the thing that they know? If you've cheated yourself out of the initial experience, you will cheat yourself out of that part. The result being that you've created slop and you've learned nothing in the process. Minimize your use of AI. Use it as a tool when you absolutely need to. And make sure that you don't give it all the fun parts to do. You know that meme of the robots were supposed to do the folding the laundry and doing the dishes? That's what they were supposed to do so that you could focus on painting or whatever. It doesn't have to be this way. You can choose what you want to offload to the AI and what you don't want to offload. Here's the thing. As this AI voice, if you will, that people are developing, if you choose to foster it, if you choose to adopt this as your voice, you will become indistinguishable from everyone else. Think about it this way. People right now are using the GPTs to apply to jobs. And the thing is, from the perspective of the people who are processing these applications, everyone just sounds the same. People sort of blend together because they're all using the same language. They're all using the same GPT-laden language that makes them indistinguishable from everyone else. And so, if you want to be remarked, if you want to be noticed, you cannot sound like the AI. Because fundamentally, they can get the AI for cheaper. They can get OpenAI, they can get ChatGPT. They can get ChatGPT for a lot less than it would cost to hire you. And especially people who use AI to do their job and they contribute nothing else. You sound like the AI, you think like the AI because it does the thinking for you. The output is indistinguishable from that of AI. And so inevitably, your boss will think, why don't I just use AI? Why am I paying for this person? Now, of course, that will eventually lead to the collapse of everything. If no one hires, because I'm just going to use the AI. But it's a different tangent. It's in your interest to retain your individuality, retain your mind, retain your creativity, even if it's harder. You must retain it. Because if you give it away, I guess you're done, aren't you? See you in the next one. Bye-bye.